Welcome to the inaugural edition of the Cannon Chatter podcast with yours truly, the Southern Gooner, here on YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at the final stages of the 2023-2024 Premier League season, and we are looking for hope and a prayer as we get ready to go into the game this weekend against Manchester United. We're hoping that we can get something in hopes that City drops points between now and the penultimate weekend, which is just around the corner. This season, ladies and gentlemen, has been a season. It's been a really, really weird season where normally either we're out of it by now or we're kind of just falling by the wayside. This year, on paper, the title is still up for grabs. How do we get into this situation? How do we get here? Well, you'd have to go back a couple of years here, and you look at the bench of this team. We've discussed it many times over. There has to be a change. There has to be a change going into next season with personnel. Some of our players, I think we've got to a stage where we have outgrown quite a bit of these players. There are some players that are going. Well, let me rephrase that. There are some players in this team that are not. I want to repeat that they are not going to be able to go where we're going. It's critical. It's critical that this summer players like Eddie Nketiah, Cedric Suarez, Emma Smith-Rowe, Fabio Vieira, Zinchenko, and we've got to call into question Jesus and Martinelli. These are players, and the latter are two that we really have to have a strong look at in the summer. Because in order for us to go to the next level, we've got to get better than what we have. We've got to get better than what we have. A lot of the fan base, they still think that quite a few of these players still has a part to play in the team. And what I want people to realize is that we're in year 4. We're in year 4 now of this project. The manager, for some odd reason, resigned the likes of Reece Nielsen, Eddie Nketiah, El Nene, and brought in players like Fabio, Zinchenko. And these players, they may have served their purpose 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and even just a year ago. And I think it's time that some of these players have moved on. Because we find ourselves right now in the situation we're in, partly in fact because we just don't have the personnel to get over the line. We just don't have that personnel. We go back to the summer. We brought in Kai Havertz, Declan Rice, Julian Timber, who's pretty much injured for most of the year, so we're not going to factor him into this. Declan Rice just came in this year, and he's done exceptionally well. He's done. You couldn't ask for anything more than what you've gotten from Declan Rice this season. You look at Kai Havertz. First 12 to 15 games, he was out of place. It was still trying to figure out where he needed to be. He's got his form and he's doing quite well. And I'm happy for him. I'm thrilled. I know I was one of the ones I gave him hell at the beginning of the season, but I am thrilled that he's doing well and has done well. And I ask that he continue that form. But let's not play ourselves. Let's not be naive. We all know we need a striker. We all know we need a striker. And this summer, we need to go out and we need to get that striker. We need to get that striker. And what I don't want to see, what I absolutely don't want to see this upcoming season is another season where we have to wait for a player to bed in, get settled in, get used to the league, and prolong or restart another process. This is why I say we have to go out and get the best, you know? We've got to get the best available player. We've got to get the best available player for the position. The best realistic. And when I say realistic, we all know Mbappe is not coming. We all know that. But you have an Ivan Toney who's sitting out there. People are saying, well, he hadn't scored a lot of goals. He hadn't scored as much. Partly because he's probably trying to preserve himself because he's in the shot window. He knows he's not returning back to Brentford. So therefore, he needs to stay healthy so that he can be prepared to play wherever he goes. We just don't have... We're at the stage now, ladies and gentlemen. We're at the stage where we don't have the luxury of waiting 3 or 4 years for a player to come good anymore. We don't have it. We've got to do the Declan Rice method. We've got to buy the ready-made players. This is why we're in the situation we're in. This is why we're in the situation we're in. We're in situations where we don't have the personnel to help us get over the line. You look at Manchester City this weekend. Erling Haaland. He's been bang out of form pretty much the last couple of months. And what happened? 4 goals in one game. 4 goals in one game. When the pressure's on, these players show up. They may go missing for a minute, but when they show up, they show up. We need world-class players. World-class players. I think too many times and too often over these last few years, I think people they've lost track that even though we were in a rebuild or a project or whatever you want to call it, there were and there still is opportunities to make the team better. And if that means that we have to bring in players that challenge our starters, then we have to do that. Because that shows ambition. That shows determination. That shows that you want to be in the yard with the big dogs. We were back in the Champions League this year. We played Bayern Munich. What was lacking in both ties of that quarterfinal there was the fact that we just didn't have world-class players. And it proved itself. You look at what Bayern Munich is doing now against the likes of Real Madrid. You have to have those players. You have to have those players. And the Arsenal fan base is going to have to learn to remove emotions and attachment to certain players on the team. They're going to have to remove those emotions so that they can see clearly the broader picture. And they're going to have to come to grips that some of these players just cannot go where we're going. They're not going where we're going. And they need to be moved on. For me, We need to finish this year strong. I would love for us to win it. Don't think it's going to happen. And we left ourselves short. Again, another year of being left short. And I want people to understand that as we move into this summer, this is probably one of the most important summer transfer windows in the modern history of Arsenal. Because there's so much riding on the line next season. We know that Mikel Arteta is going to be back. But we've got to get to a situation here where people have to start looking for success. I think the bar of success has been low the last couple of seasons. It's been just qualifying for Europe or get into Europe or Champions League. And that has clouded the vision of a lot of our fan base. It should be success in the form of trophies. We need trophies. We need a marker. These players need to see some form of high level success. A lot of these players are in their footballing peak. Some are going into their peak. Some are coming off of it. Some are just getting started. But for players like Saliba, your Trossards, your Martinelli, if he's still around, Saka especially, Gabriel, even our goalkeepers now in this conversation, these are players that are going to want to see high level success within the next 2 years. Because if they don't see it, they're going to be offered it somewhere else. And how do you fix that problem, Matt? How do you fix that problem? Well, one of the ways to fix it is to bring in world-class players to put them next to. Because those world-class players are going to instill in those players that, hey, the team is trying to move towards something. Because if we just keep the same team as it is now, maybe add 2 or 3 players, that's not going to signal anything. And for those who was here with us when we dealt with Robin van Persie's departure, we know that's what the case was. You bring in 1 or 2 players, that's just not going to do it, because you still have the same base of players around. You've got to change the aspirations and the ambition to become results oriented so that we can be successful. Because this season is going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot of people in about 2 weeks when we're sitting there probably tied. We're going to probably end up being tied or either a point off or 89. We're going to be a few points short. It might be a goal or 2 here short. We're going to look back at that and we'll look at this year as another missed opportunity. This is 2 years now, 2 years running. And quite frankly, last year's hurts even worse because we had it in our hands. We literally had it in our hands, no pun intended. And so now everyone's looking around because I've taken the temperature of the room and everyone's looking around trying to figure out, how do we get here? How can we get this title? How can we do it? There's nothing. It was in our hands. We had it against Aston Villa. We had it against Fulham. We had it against West Ham. I heard my friend DWTT this past weekend. He said it perfectly. You're at home against Aston Villa. You're looking for a win because you're at home. You're going into that game expecting to win. Because if it was City, on the other hand, you would be expecting to win. You would be expecting to go full force. We have to change the ambition of the football club. The manager has to start becoming cup hungry. He has to start wanting to become success oriented. This feels like a gap year for me. We've got to go into next season, and we've got to put down a marker that we're coming for the title next year. You would have thought, based off of what we saw last season, at the way we ended last season this time last year, that it would have been overdrive. But a lot is at stake next year. The manager's career is at stake next year. I want people to understand, the more he keeps on doing this, the more it hurts his resume, because people are going to look at him as a nearly man. So he's got to start wanting success. Some of these players are playing for their careers. Some of these players are looking at now if they're wondering if they're wasting their careers. We've got to make some drastic changes next year. This ownership has to make some drastic decisions. Are you in it just for fourth place? Or are you in it for the place? Are you looking to win this thing? What are we doing? What are we doing? And as we go into this game against Manchester United this weekend, we've got to go into this game looking for 3 points. We cannot fall away, because all it's going to do is tear off the Band-Aid again. We've got to finish the season strong. We've got to finish the season strong and see what happens. Because it's looking like if we play our cards right, it's going to come down to that last game. And you just don't know in the funny world of football sometimes how these things go. But I can tell you this. I don't want to see us losing to Manchester United. No matter how bad that team is, they are coming to play. They're going to be showing up to play. We have had historical troubles over at Old Trafford. So we've got to take this game serious. We've got to take this game serious. But as we close on these last 2 weeks, I want people to start looking for next season, looking into next season. And we've got to start demanding success. We've got to start demanding trophies. We got to start demanding high altitude achievements. Results-oriented success. I think the time for qualifying, the time for beating certain rivals. This is all good and well, but we need trophies now. We need trophies. We've got to go into the next couple of weeks, and we've got to be strong. We've got to be purposeful, and we've got to reflect on this next year and look at this year as another missed opportunity. We threw trophies and cups in the bin, and next season we've got to go looking for success. We've got to start in the summer transfer window. We've got to bring in world-class players. We have to demand that the ownership is accountable. We've got to act early this year in the transfer window. We can't be waiting until September. We're bringing in players. We've got to go out and get these players. I think if we can get players in next year, we can have a much better year. But as of this year, the shortcomings have been shown. The bench is not fixed. The bench has been absolutely one of the main reasons why we're in the situation we're in. We've got players ran ragged, i.e. Saka. We've got players like Martinelli who's out of form. And when you in the thick of a title hunt like it was this year, you've got to have all kinds of restful players and rotations. And you look at just City, how City's managed this thing since January. Man, they've rotated players, moved players along, gave them a break, and you see it on the back end where these same players are just basically demolishing teams now. And that's one of the reasons why we're in the situation we're in. We just don't have the bench. So I'm calling out for Arsenal to go into the window this summer. Get qualified players. I mean qualified, world-class players. We have to have players that challenge other players. We can't be buying just enough players like Fabio. We can't buy players like that anymore. We've got to go out and get the best of the best. If we achieve to be the best of the best. And let's not kid ourselves, y'all. There's no guarantee we're going to come back and be in this same situation next year. There's no guarantee. The only thing that you can do to try to at least put you on that path is to buy the right way. And that's to get the best of the best. Because I'm telling you all, we can't do this again next year. We can't go into the season with 80% of these players. Because it's just going to be more of the same. It's going to be more of the same. We've got to get the best available players. The best available players. So with that, I hope that you enjoyed yourselves on this brief podcast. And make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And keep your head up. Hey, we just got to push forward. Looking for a big win this weekend. I'm going 2-1 to the Arsenal. And we're moving on to that final weekend. And we're going to see what's going to go down. So, with that, I'm Matt, the Southern Gooner. Hope that you enjoyed yourselves. And I'm out. Peace.